Hey guys, today I'm sharing my fall palette picks, and these are all of the palettes that came to mind that I owned in my collection when thinking of fall. And before I forget, I want to mention two palettes that I just purchased from Cosmic Brushes. I will be getting the Undergrowth palette. Here's a picture of what it looks like. I love warm tones. I love olives. I wish there were a few more shimmers in there, but I'm really excited to have that palette and try the formula. And then just last night on TikTok Shop, I did buy the Lunar Beauty Moon Shroom palette. This was a fall palette from last year that I think it was last year or earlier this year. I cannot remember, but it had been on my wish list and I was able to get it for like a little bit more than 30% off free shipping on TikTok Shop. So I felt like that was a pretty good deal. So can't wait for those to arrive and to create some content with them. And you guys know I'm the worst with filling out the description box, but in theory, I would like to link makeup of the days that I have with these palettes from last year or maybe even the year before. But I also am not like the most creative person when it comes to makeup looks and coming up with shades that I think would go nicely together that aren't just like obvious. So I would love to hear your color combo suggestions and the looks that you created with these palettes in the comments. First, I have three mini palettes that I think are wonderful for fall. First being Natasha Denona Mini Star. You have three beautiful shimmers and two mattes. I don't get the most use out of the dark matte, but I really love the rest of the shades in here. Also, I'm going to probably keep the palettes further back and crop it in just because it seems like my lighting tries to wash out products when I bring them close to the camera. So we'll see how this turns out. And then I also have Natasha Denona Bronze palette. I will say that I wish that there was one more shimmer in here, but if I'm remembering correctly, all of these are like the regular matte formula, which is my favorite. I hate the creamy mattes. So I usually will do transition crease, outer corner, lower lash line, and you know that works perfectly for my skin tone and whatnot. But you know, I could have done without one of these shades and had one more shimmer, but I love this. It's so funny because the full-size bronze palette I really like for summer, but for some reason this one is just very fall to me. And it's great having these mattes because they go really well with other shades. I did recently get a few singles that I think would be good for fall, but that will be in the next video, which will just be my regular fall makeup must-haves. And then I wanted to shout out the only drugstore thing here, the Flower Beauty Jungle Lights palette. Now this is an all shimmer palette. These two purpley ones are not really giving fall, but these shades here are incredible. I love this formula. I do have all four palettes and the first two were the best, I would say. But this is just so stunning. Really intense metallic shades that would be just perfect lid shades. If you already have mattes that you love, just pair them with these and you will be set. Next, I'm going to show you my three newest palettes. This is from Beauty Bay, the Botanical palette. I'm so sad that this is not available already. I can't believe Beauty Bay has their releases so limited, but I hope they'll restock this. I remember last year, year before, they had a palette that was super popular. And now that I realize their palettes are not permanent, I think there's a couple permanent ones. I wish I could go back and get it, but I think that this is so fun because you have oranges and greens and purples, but then you also have some grays. This is just a really like fun mix of colors that seems very wearable. And this is a more affordable brand, which is nice. And then even though I hate the packaging, this is Adept Cosmetics Flying Fiddles. I just don't feel like it fits. It's just such like an ugly lace, but I mean, why not make it brown, you know, to match that these are warmer shades in here. And I love Adept Shimmer formula, so I am not mad at the fact that there are more shimmers than mattes. That's definitely what I prefer. And there are just really beautiful shades in here that I'm excited to play with more, and just like really great multi-dimensional shadows. On camera right now this is showing pink, but in person I'm seeing it as green, which is just so fun. And then I have a new palette that will help me lead into more of my mainstream ones, and this is Natasha Denona I Need a Warm. I've been trying to be a little bit more selective with her palettes, but I just knew I was going to get a lot of use out of this, and a lot of people have said that this is more of like warm neutral than true warm, and I do think that's true, but if it was to be warmer it might look too similar to Sunset that like orangey one, it probably would have ended up being too similar to that. So I'm really happy with this. Like, I haven't used it yet. Color wise, I think it's really beautiful. Like, these are more warm mattes, and then these ones here are a little bit more neutral tone, but I think this is going to be so perfect for every day. I know there are a few different formulas in here, so we will see, but this is a multi-chrome, which is fun to see. So really excited to use this. And then we have a couple other Natasha palettes. You guys are probably not surprised to see Yucca. I did create a look with every single shade. So I created, I think, like 6 or 7 looks with this palette, so I will have that linked. Some of these shades are repetitive. I feel like the smell of this is like the Kosas bronzers, like that stale French fry. And I hate this shade. This is that like creamy matte, as is this one, but for me, I just use that on my lower lash line. This is a transition shade. That should be just like a regular formula because it looks disgusting. It's like hard pan. I have such a hard time working with it. But I love all the shimmers in here. I think that they're so gorgeous. Next, we have Natasha Denona Gold palette, and all of the neutral shades are now in the new golden. They just took out these like more fun bluey green. So I'm happy that I was able to get the original, but I almost wish that I just had like the fun colors in a palette because I just don't reach for it enough. But I would like to because this was very expensive, as was this palette. This is Natasha Denona Metropolis. So this was a limited palette that I was able to snag a couple years ago. This is such a great mix of warm tone shades. You have olives, more orangey tones, and some blues. A few more mainstream palettes. This is from ABH. Actually, I think all of the palettes that are like this one would be great for fall, but this is the only one I have. It is Nouveau. And I think that this is a super powdery formula. I like this one. I think I could have done without it. I have really like similar shades from indie formulas that are a little bit more special, but I would like to get use out of it because I have it. Then I have a couple from Huda Beauty. This is Desert Dusk, and I don't know if this is still available. If it is, it's probably discounted on her website. These shades are so good. I think the formula of this palette is incredible. I just love that you have those like regular metallics that are so insane. The mattes are so great. I know with a lot of her other palettes, she'll try to have like 1 or 2 different formulas, and usually I don't like them, but these are just great. We have 1 pressed glitter in here. Yeah. But the rest of them I think are so good. So I would definitely love to reach back into this palette. And then we have Naughty Nude. I think this would be great for winter as well, but this is a little bit warmer. You've got more burgundy tones, which I think are really pretty for fall. I feel like I keep in mind to use this for winter, but I use so many more cool tones that I don't end up reaching for it that much. So I've decided like this will be nice to add some variety in fall because there's no olives here. But again, I just love this Huda formula. I think these marbled eyeshadows or like look special in the pan are just like a shimmer on the lid. And then of course we all hated this dumb little jelly thing, but whatever, the rest of them are great. Next, I don't know if you would call this indie or mainstream. I'm gonna say mainstream because you can buy it at Sephora. And this is Milk Cosmetics Gemini 2. I fortunately have not had any mold issues in my palettes, but I know my friend Jean has. I love these shades here. I think they're so beautiful, and I initially was like, ooh, these might be spring. I don't think so. I like brighter peachy shades. And then of course like the olives are giving very fall, but I think that this would be a beautiful palette. I need to use more because I know how much I loved it when I first got it. This is something I will mix with other things just because there's only 2 shimmers in here and they're very dark on my complexion. And my last non-indie palettes would be ColourPop, and these were limited palettes, so I'm so sorry for these and any other palettes here that are not available anymore, but I want to just encourage you to pull them out of your collection. And I really just want to like show you what I have, show you what I'm going to be using. That's usually the spiel I say in my seasonal makeup must-haves, but I forgot. But you know, don't get mad at me here. But this is the ColourPop and Raw Beauty Kristi at Forest Sight palette. This is so beautiful. I think all of these mattes are awesome. And I wish there was more shimmers though. There were more shimmers. I think that these are 2 amazing shimmers, very gorgeous. And some of these shades though, maybe I wish this was a bigger palette because I feel like all of these mattes have a place here, and I don't think that I would necessarily want to transform any of these to be a shimmer. I mean, I think that would be lovely, but I I just wish that this was like had more shimmers, but was a little bit bigger. I also don't like this color. It is like a matte with the glitter in there, which, like, can we stop doing that? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. But a really well performing palette. Because it has so many mattes, it's more of a companion palette for me, which unfortunately means I don't reach for it as often. And then we have the original Hocus Pocus Gather Round Sisters palette. So amazing. And I don't use the first and last column. This and this are mattes with tons of glitter, which I can't stand, but these 3 columns in the center I think are amazing. This has a pressed glitter, but is actually relatively easy to use, and these other shades are so stunning. The looks that I created with these, I absolutely fell in love with. So this is definitely one that I'm so lucky to have. I believe that I bought this on a restock a couple years ago. Okay, now everything else is indie, and first we have Fantasy Cosmetica Bard. This is one of my favorite palettes ever. First up, I love this layout that we, in like a little T, have the shimmers, and then we just have the mattes in the 4 corners here. This is beautiful. I feel like this is quintessential fall, that these are colorful shades but still not crazy out there. I love the formula of this. This is so good. I love this so much, and I feel like as much as I like the color variety here, I think this has like a, not the same shades, or not dupes, but like, to me, the same effect of like a similar color variety, but they did a great job of picking which shades to be shimmers and mattes. I just love that one so much. And I have a few Odin's Eye palettes. This was my very first Odin's Eye palette back in the day. This is their first collab with Judy, and this is the Red Dragon palette. Stunning. Again, a couple of the looks I created with this I absolutely love. I think the shimmers are really fun. There are more mattes than shimmers, which again is not my favorite, but I do think that they go really nicely with the shimmers that they've chosen, and I just like love the layout, love the packaging, so good. Next is a palette I got for Christmas last year that I've not used yet. This is Stone and Rock from Odin's Eye, and looking at this in person, I need to play with it because I, again, have not used it all yet. Out of all of the olive palettes, I don't know that this one is necessarily my favorite because these are not as warm tone of olives as I would like, and they range like a little bit darker. But I'm really excited to play with it. I definitely will be looking up some tutorials, but I would love to hear your thoughts on color combos. Then I have one palette from Glamlight. This is an amazing olive. This is Dirty Martini. So you have so many shimmers in here and mattes. It's a really nice balance, and for it being like an all green palette, they did a great job of picking different grains. I do think you have a lot of different options here, and you know, these 3 shimmers right here are probably my favorite, and those are a little bit more neutral. And I think that these mattes are pretty easy to work with, but I will tell you, because they're a little bit more saturated and deeper on my skin tone, usually I would do my classic warm mattes in the crease, one of these on the lid, and then the mattes on my lower lash line, and I loved doing that. So this is a great one. Another Fantasy Cosmetica palette I have is their first palette, I believe, which is Druid. I think these are so fun, very like earthy, woodsy, sooty, and they're very beautiful. I'm not like that blown away by the mattes in here, but I think the shimmers are incredibly special, and I need to give this more love. Next, from It's Belle Cosmetics, we have Dawn of Fall, which is an all shimmer palette, which is so fun, and these shades are really multi-dimensional, and these are just like so stunning. These are more like jewel tones, which is very beautiful, and I'm so sad It's Belle Cosmetics is closing, which just breaks my heart. I do have one other palette from It's Belle, and this is Pixie Grove. This is such a fun palette, a very interesting, fun release. Now, for me, I'm not going to be reaching for the mints or these 2 Toppery shades, but all of the other ones I think are amazing for fall. These shimmers here absolutely blow me away. They're such amazing metallics, and I loved the looks I created. Next, I have Fall Magic from Unearthly. This was the original. They have like remastered it now. Unearthly has changed up the way that they have their palette layouts, which is so fun. I really want to get the Gargoyle palette. That looks incredible. And there are so many others that I want to get from them. I just haven't purchased from them in a while, but I love these. Like, these shimmers are incredible. My favorite shades in here would be this shade, this one, and this one. probably no surprise to you guys, but I was really impressed with this quality, and I think that this is a really nice variety of colors, but not too out there where they don't make sense. Next, from Kaleidos, I have the Flower Punk palette, and I really like these baby poop shades over here. I think create a really fun look. This is an incredible metallic shade. I absolutely love this, and the other shades in here I just am not as wowed by, so I definitely make sure I get a use out of this. And lastly, I have the Adept Cosmetics Heather Austin palette, and some of these shimmers I like wearing more in winter. I find them to be a little bit more cool tone, but these shades here on the end I think are so lovely for fall. So guys, those are all of the palettes that came to mind when thinking of fall. I would love to hear what fall palettes you have, you recommend, and again, I would really appreciate any of your color combo suggestions with these palettes. And stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be all of the other makeup that I love and recommend for fall. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.